there maybe one or two things that you can share based on skill development, whether it be skating, puck handling, shooting, some things that you see reoccurring over and over with the same players? It can start with the ages of 10 or 11 years old. Do you see things that you could, for these listeners and followers, that they can really have a thought about?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the biggest thing, and the way that the way the game is, and you see all the trends, is the skating ability, right? So are you utilizing the full length of your stride, or are you getting out of the gate and really focusing on those first 3 steps? Especially for me as a winger, you get stuck on that half wall. You get a breakout pass, like, you don't want to be stuck in cement. You want to get your feet moving, get your head up, and be able to make plays like that. So finding ways to incorporate, quick feet, or first 3 strides, or lengthening things out, crossovers, picking up speed, a ton of edge work is kind of what I focus on. And then obviously, with that being said, puck confidence, and finding a way to constantly in those sessions have a puck on your stick, because if you're confident in the practice and you're doing things at a high level, it's going to translate into the game well, right? So a lot of what I had done and what we were doing was starting from stage 1 without a puck, making it a little bit simple. Once we grasp it, we move up and just kind of continue to build and follow that process that we had in place in order for guys to be successful. And the confidence that we saw in our players was unbelievable, right? It's obviously we worked them hard, and in a structured day with flow practices and systems, things that looked a little bit different. But in a skill development sense, I didn't think that there would be too many other people doing what we were doing on the ice, and I think it showed.
Yeah, no, that's great for sure. Anything else you want to add to what we've touched on? And there's many different things. I think one cool thing is that you're officiating, and how you can see from that angle and perspective. Is there anything that really sticks out being an official? I mean, I could think you could go back. What kind of comes from my mind is, like, you were once a guy that saw the penalty box probably, more often than the average player. Some players that don't get in the box at all, some players that are in there a little bit, and there's some that are a lot. I find that, you were one of those guys that the refs always interacted with, taking to the box, and they knew who you were. Is there anything that sticks out now that you're a ref?
For me, obviously, I get to see the game from, once again, the best seat in the house. I'm on the ice, I'm involved, I'm in the mix, right? So yeah. When I think about my development career and a lot of things that I do on the side and in the summertime, and it's phenomenal for me to be able to see that firsthand, to see how that defenseman's, evading that guy, attacking him, how he's getting up the ice, how he's finding space, the edges that he's able to use, where they're all finding success. So selfishly, that's great for me to be able to see. And then when you think of actually being an official, and the biggest thing is just players that communicate well. Obviously, you have so much respect for them, right? Not the guy that overreacts at any given thing, which is going to happen, and that's the reality of the game. The game has a lot of emotions and passion to it. So understanding that will happen, and that happened to me as a player, and it will happen to people. And as long as you can kind of man up and come back around and be like, hey, I did not mean to say that. Like, I'm really sorry. Like, I respect what you're doing out here. And the amount of guys this year that had come to me and said that was great to hear. I think the game's changing a lot, where obviously as a coach and a player and a student and everything else, communication is one of the biggest things, right? Like, you want to be able to communicate with your coach. You want to communicate with your strength and conditioning coach. You want to communicate with your skills guy. Well, you want to communicate with the ref as well. They have a lot of pull in the game, right? So having a good rapport and good communication with the ref, I think, goes a really long way as a player and a coach.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a lot what you just said is based on character as well, right? It's not just a matter of you watching these unbelievable players that can rifle the shots and score big goals and how well they can skate, but it's also too of how they're handling themselves as players and individuals out there on the ice, whether it's on ice or off ice. I'm sure the kids and young players love it that Michael Duco is coaching, reffing tonight, and you play in the NHL, a big name, I'm sure big fan favorite in the OHL. both in the home rinks and the away rinks, I'm sure, with all the ruckus I'm sure you created, and the fights, the entertaining fights that people were able to watch.
Absolutely. I'd like to think I was a fan favorite where I went, but that's just me.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot for coming on today. This is Michael Duco, OHA Skills Development Director and referee, former 9-year pro, NHL games, amazing, well, even AHL career, but also amazing OHL career with the Kitchener Rangers, and really earned everything that he got right from the early age, but especially his story with the signing the NHL contract and how all that progressed.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess the one thing that I can say after it all that, and probably good for your listeners to hear, is the amount of people that told me I was too small, I was too short, I wasn't strong enough, I wasn't big enough. And back then it was probably a little bit more prevalent than it is today, hearing that. But that was once again part of that fuel and that fire that drove me. The amount of people that told me I couldn't do it, the amount of people that tell you, oh, you're only here because your dad's the coach, which he was for a majority of my minor career. But, you know, at the end of the day, when you part and you still find success, you know, I think I did a lot of good things along the way. And I think there's a lot of things that I could have done a lot differently, but neither here nor there. And I got to where I was going to be regardless. So.
Right. No, exactly. Different things happen. Many different influences other than, you know, just your dad. I'm sure you've had tons of many coaches and mentors, but, you know, just great to have you on here, and such a big name, especially out this way to the Canucks fans. I'm sure remember who you are. But also too, when we met, I mean, our relationship, you know, being, you know, but since 2016, when we're on the ice and you just said something to me, it was friendly, and I was like, oh, Warner, and I was like, I looked back, I was like, I don't think that guy knows me. Like, is he sure he's got the same Wong? Which is pretty funny and cool, you know, a guy making his way down from the NHL to the AHL, and then found his, you know, we were older. I think you were definitely a veteran, but I was slowly coming out to be a veteran in the East Coast, and just reaching out and communicating, I know in between whistles or during the commercial break there, but it was very cool. Now we're able to have you on this talk and share your experiences and knowledge with the young players, parents, and coaches.
Oh, thanks for having me on. And I never was too worried that we had to fight, so we could have been real friendly.
That's right. For sure.